The same conversation has been running in your head all day. You keep finding new things to be ashamed of in it. And your body has not yet been told that the conversation is over. You don't have to replay the conversation. The words have already left you. The other person has moved on. The auditing has never been the protection it pretended to be. And the replay is allowed to soften tonight. The conversation is already over. The conversation is already over fully. The conversation is already over, whether your body has caught up or not. The room you said the words in is empty now. The minutes that held the conversation have already passed. The chairs are empty. The hour is done. The conversation is in the past. And the past is not asking for any more of your attention. The words you said have already left you. The words you said have already left you completely. The words you said have already left you, and they are not coming back to be resaid. The sentence is finished. The message is sent. The voice note is delivered. The reply is in. There is no version of you who gets to go back and say it differently. And the wishing you could is allowed to soften now. The other person has moved on. The other person has moved on completely. The other person has moved on into the rest of their own evening. They are not still in the conversation with you. They are doing dishes. They are watching something. They are texting someone else. They are asleep. The conversation is not where they are. And the conversation is not where you are required to stay. The audit has been doing no protective work. The audit has been doing no protective work for years. The audit has been doing no protective work, no matter how careful it has felt. The replay has not gone back in time to fix anything. The replay has not stopped any future damage. The replay has only been costing you the hours after every interaction. The replay has been the wound performing protection. The replay has not been the protection itself. And you are allowed to feel the difference now. You don't have to replay the conversation. The words have already left you. The other person has moved on. The auditing has never been the protection it pretended to be. And the replay is allowed to soften tonight. The audit was learned in a younger room. The audit was learned in a younger room by a younger you. The audit was learned in a younger room where words you said could be turned against you. You learned to scan the room for what you had just done wrong. You learned to find the error before someone else could. You learned to soften your own sentence in your head before it could be used against you. The audit kept the younger you safe in a room that needed that kind of vigilance. The audit was real protection then. The room you are in now is not that room. The version of you in their head is softer than the version you are auditing. The version of you in their head is softer and smaller and less detailed. The version of you in their head is softer and is not running on a loop the way the version in your head is. They are not holding a transcript. They are not parsing your tone. They are not finding the error you have already found 10 times. The conversation in their memory is one of 100 conversations they have had this week. The version of you they are carrying is gentler than the one your wound has been showing you. And the gentler version is closer to the truth. The silence after your message is not a verdict. The silence after your message is not a verdict ever. The silence after your message is not a verdict on what you said or how or who you are. The silence is the other person being in their own life. The silence is the other person making dinner. The silence is the other person being on a call. The silence is the other person not having their phone in their hand. The silence is rarely the indictment your nervous system reads it as. And the silence is allowed to be silence and nothing more. The tone of what you said was fine. The tone of what you said was fine, almost certainly. The tone of what you said was fine, even the sentence you have been auditing. The comma you regret was not heard the way you have been hearing it. The word you wish you had not used was a normal word. The pause you took before answering was a normal pause. The way you laughed was a normal laugh. The way you said goodbye was a normal goodbye. And the normalness of all of it is what you have been unable to feel. You don't have to replay the conversation. The words have already left you. The other person has moved on. The auditing has never been the protection it pretended to be. And the replay is allowed to soften tonight. Other people are not auditing you the way you audit yourself. Other people are not auditing you the way you audit yourself ever. Other people are not auditing you the way you audit yourself, no matter how it has felt. Other people are auditing themselves. Other people are running their own replays of their own conversations. Other people are not building a case against you in the silence between texts. The amount of attention you have been giving to how you came across is not the amount of attention other people are giving it. The room is not the courtroom your nervous system has been preparing for. And the case is not being built. The audit has been a sophisticated way of staying in the moment that is already gone. The audit has been a sophisticated way of staying in the moment that is already gone, dressed up as care. The audit has been a sophisticated way of staying in the moment that is already gone, costing you the moments that come after. The replay has felt like vigilance. The replay has been a way to remain near the conversation when the conversation has left. The replay has been a way to stay in control of something that was already finished. The conversation has been over for hours. You have been in it the whole time. And you are allowed to be where your body actually is now. You are allowed to leave a finished conversation actually finished. You are allowed to leave a finished conversation actually finished and not feel it as abandonment. You are allowed to leave a finished conversation actually finished in the way the other people in it already have. You are allowed to close the meeting when the meeting closes. You are allowed to set the text down when the text is sent. You are allowed to walk out of the dinner and into your own car. You are allowed to be done when the talking is done. The leaving is not coldness. The leaving is what everyone else in the conversation is already doing. You don't have to replay the conversation. The words have already left you. The other person has moved on. The auditing has never been the protection it pretended to be. And the replay is allowed to soften tonight. There was no perfect sentence you missed. There was no perfect sentence you missed in any of those conversations. There was no perfect sentence you missed in any of them ever. The sentence you wish you had said does not exist. The sentence you wish you had said is something the wound is constructing now, in safety, in hindsight. In the actual conversation, in real time, the sentence you said was the one that was available to you. You were not failing to find a better sentence. You were saying the true one in the room you were in, and the true one was enough. The other person is not still in the room. The other person is not still in the room with the receipt. The other person is not still in the room holding the transcript open. They are home. They are with their own people. They are inside their own life. They are not preserving the conversation the way you have been. They are letting it become one of the 100 small interactions of their day. And you are allowed to let it become one of yours. Your shoulders are allowed to drop now. Your shoulders are allowed to drop now after this conversation. Your shoulders are allowed to drop now after every conversation. The jaw is allowed to soften. The breath is allowed to land lower than it has been landing. The chest is allowed to widen by the small inch it has been holding back. The body is allowed to leave the conversation in the way the other people in it already have. The body is allowed to be done. Done. And the body knows how to be done when the audit stops asking it to stay. You don't have to replay the conversation. The words have already left you. Duh. The other person has moved on. The auditing has never been the protection it pretended to be. And the replay is allowed to soften tonight. The sentences you have been carrying for years are allowed to be set down. The sentences you have been carrying for years are allowed to be set down gently. The sentences you have been carrying for years are allowed to be set down, even if they have felt important. The 2019 sentence is allowed to stay in 2019. The sentence you said to your mother last month is allowed to stay in last month. The text from Sunday is allowed to stay on Sunday. The carrying has not been honoring the conversation. The carrying has been the audit asking you to stay in a room with no one else in it. And the rooms are allowed to empty now. The conversation does not require any more of your attention. The conversation does not require any more of your attention this evening. The conversation does not require any more of your attention ever again. There is no version of revisiting that will fix what the audit thinks needs fixing. There is no version of revisiting that will give you the certainty the audit has been asking for. There is no version of revisiting that will be the last revisit. The only version of done is letting it be done. The only version of finished is walking away from it inside yourself. And the walking away is allowed to begin now. You don't have to replay the conversation. The words have already left you. The other person has moved on. The auditing has never been the protection it pretended to be. And the replay is allowed to soften tonight. You are allowed to trust your own words after you have said them. You are allowed to trust your own words after you have said them fully. You are allowed to trust your own words after you have said them, even when the certainty has not arrived yet. The trust is not the absence of every afterthought. The trust is the willingness to let what you said be what you said. The trust is what allows the conversation to be done when the conversation is done. The trust is a muscle the audit has been overruling. The trust is allowed to come back online tonight. And the words you said are allowed to be enough. The audit can thank the younger you and step aside. The audit can thank the younger you who installed it for very good reasons. The audit can thank the younger you and then be allowed to retire. The younger you needed the vigilance, and the vigilance worked. The older you in the room you are in tonight does not need the vigilance the younger one did. The vigilance has earned its rest. The audit has earned its rest. The auditor has done her job long enough, and the rest is allowed to begin tonight. You don't have to replay the conversation. The words have already left you. The other person has moved on. The auditing has never been the protection it pretended to be. And the replay is allowed to soften tonight again. You don't have to replay the conversation. The words have already left you. The other person has moved on. The auditing has never been the protection it pretended to be. And the replay is allowed to soften tonight. You don't have to replay the conversation. The words have already left you. The other person has moved on. The auditing has never been the protection it pretended to be. And the replay is allowed to soften tonight. Feel what was just spoken becoming part of you, not just heard. Absorbed. Your body has taken it in. It is already working. Now you rest in the feeling. You do not need to make it happen in this moment. You only need to let it in, without revisiting one more sentence, without rereading one more message, without auditing one more thing you already said. Breathe. Receive. Become. And as you move through your day, stay open. Notice the small signs. Notice the shifts. Notice what begins to feel different. Because something is already changing. And letting finished conversations actually be finished is becoming more available to you.